Django Unchained. It's the first time I think that he's properly done a western, but I think it's the first time that he's done a western that you sort of feel it's the proper Tarantino western that we've all waited for so long, and I think that it's the best it could be. It's something that basically has everything like fingerprints of a western on it, but it also has real truths that he isn't sort of this person who I think people sort of describe him as the sells out or he tries to do something that sort of ripping off other things. I think what he does is really unique because what he does is he takes something and he wants to show that he has a better understanding of it than, say, some typical director maybe who just started and wants to reference everything, thinking he's really cool, and then sort of loses track of trying to make a great film and just getting lost in it. I think what's really special about Tarantino is he never wants to sort of bore us or annoy us or sort of confined in something that we don't want to see. And I think what's really good about him that he also takes us to places that I think some filmmakers don't want to take us. Because people say about this film is controversial and stuff like that, but it's Tarantino that made his mark on it to tell this story, tell this subject very, Tarantino sort of his way. That he wants to show it as it happened. He doesn't want to sort of put stuff over it and make it too obvious or make us kind of think, oh, well, is it that or I'm not sure. He knows exactly what he's doing. And I think it's the best Western of the 21st century. I know he said that. I'm not copying just because he said it, but it truly is the best Western of the 21st century because True Grit was great, but it's not a Tarantino film. And I'm not saying that to dishearten people who like True Grit because I loved it too, but it's more to my heart, Django Unchained, because it's a Tarantino film, and it's the film that he's wanted to make for so long, and I think it's really cool that he wants to go off, well, he was trying to go off and do a Western before, but he never actually got to make it a proper Western like Kill Bill 2, obviously the first 15 minutes, it's all a Western, spaghetti Western and everything, and the first couple of minutes in Volume 1, you have a little bit of a spaghetti Western, and in Inglourious Basterds, there's a little bit of a spaghetti Western there, and I guess throughout his work, there's always sort of been some sort of standoffs, kind of like a bit like a Western, a bit like at the end of Reservoir Dogs. But the acting is fantastic. I mean, Christoph is having the time of his life. I mean, he's so good, and he just brings something to it that I think somebody else wouldn't bring, and he sort of shows that he can make something more than anybody else could ever make of it, It is his role. He is amazing. And I think what's also great about it is that he's getting casted by Tarantino in all these films. And it's not like, oh yeah, well, I'll work with somebody else. He wants Christoph very, very clearly. And I think that's great. And I just love the way that he also changed the kind of role that he played. So it's not the same. I'm not saying he wouldn't do a good baddie again, because I'm sure he would. But changing it and flip-siding that Leonardo DiCaprio is the baddie this time and Christoph is the good guy, I think that works so well. And I love Leonardo DiCaprio as Calvin Candy. I just think he's phenomenal in it. He's every scene that he gets a little part in it, I think he just steals it when he can, and it's just. It's like, you can't believe it's Leonardo DiCaprio. It's quite breathtaking. I mean, he's a great actor. I'm not saying he's a bad actor, but for him to be in a Tarantino movie doing a Tarantino character, I just think that's great. And Jamie Foxx, I've always liked Jamie Foxx, even from The Soloist and lots of other things he was in. But I think this is his finest hour as Django. He is great. And what I also like about this movie is the fact that it has revenge through it, which is obviously another Tarantino-esque sort of theme that he has throughout all his films, like Inglourious Basterds and obviously this film and Kill Bill, and it always there's always like similar things in Tarantino films. Like a lot of people die, and it's very stylish. There's always something about revenge in them. Not every single one, but it's like for quite a few of them, And he does similar things, like similar like scenes, like in Volume One of Kill Bill. There's the thing of the cereal box exploding and going everywhere, and in this movie there's a bit where there's a really gross, violent fight, and then there's all these sweets falling on the floor. It reminds me of that, which I think is cool. He's not like copying it; he's just sort of doing another like interpretation, you know, which I think is great. And I love the way he's edited the film. I think the film works beautifully the way it's been put together. He he puts together stuff so well that I think he could be his own editor. I mean, it's not. It's obviously edited by Brad Raskin. Obviously, the new editor from Sally Menke, who died unfortunately. But what I like is that he's always in control of his movie. So in a way, he's kind of cutting the movie himself because that's what he did with Sally. Um, but he knows exactly what he wants. He doesn't sort of hold back or sort of say, yeah, well, he's not unsure. He knows exactly what he wants, and I think that's the true sign of a great filmmaker. He's always there, always on the ball, always knows what he wants, and I think even from the first day I watched a Tarantino film 9 years ago now, that I just thought they were great. I always just thought there was something different in them and inventive and creative and different, and trying new things that other filmmakers wouldn't even do, and just putting a style on it. So I remember the first film I watched, I think it was Kill Bill. It was a long time ago, 9 years ago now, and it just struck me. It's just like, what is this? Like, who is this guy? And I'd never watched any of his films before, and then I started obviously watching like Jackie Brown and Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. I still don't think Reservoir Dogs is his best film or as good as his other ones. But I do like it, and there's very much Tarantino stuff in there, which is all good, very very talented and everything. But I don't hold it up there with all the other ones. I still think it's a good little film of its own. I just don't think it's great. Um, but I'm open to anyone saying it's a great film. I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, you know, I think if someone's going to say Detention's a great film, then I think that's sorely wrong because it was terrible. That's just a little comparison. Um, but I love Tarantino, as you all know, obviously from this review. It's been so long already. Um, but long and good. I mean, I think what he does with this and Inglourious Basterds, he takes a film that is quite long, but it sort of takes you to somewhere that no filmmaker wouldn't, because the filmmaker probably cut it out or cut this bit off. He shows you everything. And obviously there was a cut this is 4 hours long. That would have been too long. But I think it's the perfect length that it is. And it works so well the way he does like things of what characters are feeling and what's all going on in their heads and stuff like that. And it's just really, really, really well done. And it just puts a smile on my face. That's what he does. When I watch a movie, it just puts a smile on my face. And just I think he's great. And I think the whole slavery thing is just ridiculous. With people criticizing the way he used the N word, he's as I side because Spike Lee was very adamant, and I'll be honest, I find Spike Lee a bit of an idiot now because from the beginning, 20 years ago, when Pulp Fiction came out, he was criticizing Tarantino. Then he criticized it again with Jackie Brown, and now he's criticizing a third time. Can you just shut up and leave it alone? I mean, you know, Spike Lee's a good director, but he's infuriated me so much now with banging on about this thing for 20 years over Quentin's films now, three of them, that I just pretend that it's directed by somebody else now and not Spike Lee. I can't stand the man now, quite frankly. He's the opposite end of Tarantino. Tarantino I love, Spike Lee I can't stand as a person right now because he's missing the point. It's just so wrong. He's showing it that it was horrible. I mean, I think you're an idiot if you don't understand that. I'm sorry, but I just think you are. And he's showing it that it is obviously not nice, but there's a point to it, and it's not offensive. I'm sure it's not pleasant, of course, but there's a point to it, and I think he shows it in such a great way. Of yeah, this is what it was like. It was horrible, but and this is the big but. He comes good at the end because he was a slave, and he comes to a higher place. I mean, if you don't understand that, then you are on Mars, quite frankly, and if it does annoy you, the whole thing of them saying throughout the movie, then don't watch the movie. If it really annoys you that much, don't. But the thing I've heard some people say that they just went in hate because they said it several times, and that's just ridiculous. I think you have to watch the film and give it a chance. And I think Tarantino has always been that way, that he has controversial films, and now it's still like, oh, hang on. Now again, it's like unexpected, which I just think is stupid. And Tarantino is very much like he's showing something, and he doesn't have an obsession of the N word. He's showing, like, for example, at the end, the Django becomes, well, like as I say, an outlaw, but an outlaw for a good reason, because he was a slave, he went through hell, and now he's got his woman. Sorry if you haven't watched the movie, I spoiled the whole thing now, and he comes to a higher place. And I think that's what makes the film really work. And even the relationship between Christophe and Django, that works really great. And you know that it's going to a good place. Like, he was going through hell, now it's gone up to a higher place that he feels a lot better about himself. And he's got a friend, he's got somebody who understands him and not looking down on him, which several people have done because he's slave and everything. And I think it's one of those things that it's just a thing of history, the way he wants to show history. This is his version, his interpretation of it, and I think that's what makes the film so great, that he takes something that he feels strongly about that was wrong, a bit like with Inglourious Basterds, reshapes it, makes his own mark on it, which is completely different to anybody else or what's been happening in film, and then gives us this great stuff. And I just think that it's so many great things about his films, Inglourious Basterds, Kill Bill, and this one, and Jackie Brown, and Pulp Fiction. But I think mostly these two for the historical things, that he goes back and changes and makes his own thing. And I think it just works so well. And I think that Harvey Weinstein said that he's the greatest filmmaker of the 20th century, 21st century. And although his generation, that was it, yeah. And I think he is the best filmmaker of his generation, because he always impresses me. He hasn't really disappointed me a lot. The only time I got disappointed was Death Proof, really. It just annoyed the hell out of me, that stupid film. But for the most part, I think he's great. And one bad film doesn't matter, It's just one tiny thing, you forget about it. And he has even admitted that it wasn't very good in the end, after some time. So there we have it. And I think he also is someone who's very proud of his work. And I think some directors kind of sway off and go, oh, hang on. No, I thought that was kind of, yeah. But he's always knows what he's done. He knows he's done a good job. And lots of people like his movies. Some people don't, but majority people do. But I think the people that don't like his movies don't understand them. There's a fine line between understanding and not understanding something, but, some people can be quite adamant, no, I don't understand it, and don't appreciate it. And I think he shows so much in his movies to love. And I think the world has fallen in love with that over these 20 years he's been making movies. And, I think he should just carry on making movies for as long as he wants. I mean, it's ridiculous that he wants to end and call it a day. I think he's so great as a filmmaker. I mean, Kill Bill is my favorite film, but it's number two. But I think, obviously Terminator 1, no, Terminator 2, sorry. Terminator 2 is my favorite movie, and has been since I was about 11, 12 years old. But I think that was before I knew about Tarantino, and I put him as my favorite director because he's made the most impact on me watching movies, and I've always gone to see his movies and want to watch them and watch the earlier ones. Like I love True Romance. I think True Romance is a great film, and just so much like Tarantino in there that you can't believe that he didn't direct it. But then it just shows in the way that Tony Scott did such a great job directing it. Um, so yeah, to conclude, I love this film. I love Quentin. I don't want him to end, and I want him to do as many sort of dances or whatever he does that he does in his own great way. Because he's just, I think he's an entertaining character. He's crazy, but I love him, and I think that's what a lot of people think about him. That he's crazy, but he's great. And I guess some people would even say the style of his movies is different and kind of in a way like his brain's like locked into something else. But that's what I like about his movies, and I think that'll always stay. And I love him. I love him. Yeah, just quickly, I did not mention the music in this film. I feel ashamed I did not mention this music. Mm. Music is fantastic. I mean, I think it's probably one of the best soundtracks he's done, and there have been a lot of great soundtracks he's done. But I think this is in at least the top three. It's fantastic. I mean, I've got it on my iPhone now. It's just such an empowering, amazing soundtrack that I don't think's been equaled for at least the last year of film. I know it might sound like I'm raving about it a lot, and you're like, oh really, is it that good? But it is, and I think he's just always been so great at picking the right music, and maybe it's like I'm trying to sound like him now without trying the right music with the right image. um, but I just love the way he picks music. He's not picking stuff and going, oh yeah, well, that's music from that generation, so let's pick that and pick a bit of this and always throw that in. He really thinks about it, and you can tell he loves it. Especially because the scene in Jackie Brown where she walks out, he actually played the actual song on a little, little tape player, and he just had it going. And I just, that's so cool, or CD player, whatever, tape player, CD player, you know what I'm on about. Anyway, but that's what I really like about Quentin, that he always knows what he wants. There's some directors who don't know what they want at all, and then you see the film and it's a pile of shit. Excuse my language, or pile of crap, whatever. And it's more profound that he knows what he wants, and he doesn't want to sort of not go for what he wants. And I think what I really like about his music, that it's always the right thing there that's most prominent in what's going on. And I think probably my favorite one is the one at the beginning, the Django. The whole theme that's been done. I think that's great, and I like the way he appreciates music and the way he sort of talks about it and says that the original songs were great, and then someone does a remix or a newly recorded version which is not good. And yeah, that's not good. And I just love his music. I mean, even from Kill Bill to Jackie Brown, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, True Romance. I mean, everything. It's all great. Even Inglourious Basterds, an amazing soundtrack. And this, and it's always prominent. There's always a strong thing about his films, and I think it's actually probably my favorite thing about this film. That the soundtrack is so good. I mean, I don't think there's really anything that's bad in it, apart from the few minutes he comes on to cameo at the end, which was a little bit poor. But apart from that, it's pretty perfect, I think, this film. It's a strong 9, I'd say. It's not a 10, but, he's always got such high marks off me. I think 9, 10 is not really a big difference. So, but yeah, he's great, and I did like his bit with the hats thing. I thought he was good in that, his little cameo. I enjoyed that. I think the bit at the end went a little bit too far. He could just cut and snip the little thing out of there, but apart from that, the film's pretty perfect and it's good.